Honourable Prime Minister, Managing Partner of EY, Ronald Attard, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It's a great pleasure for me to join you once again here for this very important seminar, which has now become an annual appointment, indeed, ever since we joined the European Union. The theme that has been chosen for this year is a theme that I consider to be very apt, very appropriate, and very important, because the future is indeed today, and the future depends on the decisions that we take today. And of course, by the same token, today is also the result of the decisions that we took yesterday. And there have been some momentous decisions that have truly shaped our today and that can help us leap forward to the future. Chief amongst these, of course, was membership of the European Union 12 years ago, and it's no surprise that this conference started to become an annual appointment immediately after that. EU membership gave us free access to a vast European and global market, as well as access to a 2.5 billion development aid from the Union to help spur our economic growth. Along with the adoption of the euro, this has enabled us to attract a great deal of new business and build new economic sectors that we would never have envisaged before. Some of them have already been mentioned today, such as iGaming, the aviation sector, and pharmaceuticals, to mention but 3 examples. But crucially, this has helped us spur on economic growth and given us the resilience to emerge unscathed from the greatest economic recession that we faced over the past century. So yes, indeed, our future depends on the decisions, good or bad, we take today. And in this vein, allow me to share with you some reflections, some pointers, some indicators on what I believe are methods that we ought to consider to continue ensuring that the future is today. Public finance. Our economic performance has certainly enabled us to steer our public finances in the right direction. But there are some worrying signals that could complicate things in the future. For example, public debt has increased in absolute terms by 748 million over 3 years since the end of 2012. Was this necessary if the economic growth has been performing so well? Public sector employment. The 25-year-long trend of decreasing public sector employment has now been reversed. And the quality of public spending. This is a matter of concern because the government has been consuming more but investing less. For instance, salaries in the public sector have gone up tremendously, and so have subsidies to public authorities. But in the first 8 months of this year, capital investment has declined by 83 million. Infrastructure. We've heard this already, but it's worth underlining. We are now witnessing an infrastructural deficit, and we need to address it sooner rather than later. This affects, of course, our mobility, and it goes to the very core of our day-to-day lives. But it's not just about how much time we spend, waste, get frustrated in the traffic. This is also about the economy. And unless we truly get over the challenge and address the challenge of traffic congestion by investing more in our infrastructure, the better. This, of course, calls for alternative plans, for an alternative mass public transport system, because it is clear that the public bus transport reform did not succeed under the previous administration, but nor did it succeed under the present one. So we need to think ahead, take decisions that are truly different, and provide an alternative public transport system that makes it worthwhile, that makes it obvious that it is better to leave your car at home because you'll get there before. The environment. We must change once and for all the idea that the environment is some kind of obstacle to economic growth or a victim of economic growth. It is neither an obstacle nor a victim. It should be a driver to economic growth, completely integrated and mainstreamed in our planning and in our thinking. So this is not a zero-sum game between the environment and the economy. This is something that ought to be addressed, and the sooner we do this, the better as well. Energy tariffs. The reduction of the past 2 years has not been sufficient to reflect the huge savings that have been made as a result of the investment in the interconnector and in the new BWSC power station that came on stream in December 2012, as well as the significantly lower international prices of fuel. So as a result, our industry is having to compete with counterparts in the European Union that have benefited more from the savings and the decline and the price and costs of electricity. New economic niches. We've heard this already in the presentation that we've had, but it is clear that we need to plan today for what and which new economic sectors we ought to create in the future. iGaming is, of course, a very important sector, but we should do more. We should take this to digital media services. We should invest greatly in fintech, and we should also take seriously the possibility of turning our country into a powerhouse for logistics and distribution. These are areas that are clearly important for us, but are also doable for us. If we've done this in other sectors, we can do this in these sectors too. And I greatly welcome the fact that these proposals have also been put forward by EY in its conferences, and there is by and large a consensus that we should invest in creating these economic sectors. Because what is clear is that if something goes wrong in one or more of our existing sectors, then we need to create a smooth transition by helping the creation of new jobs in other sectors. Air Malta, our national airline, is not just about tourism. It is about our connectivity to the rest of the world, and therefore it is about our entire economy. We say yes to a strategic partnership, but let's retain control at a national level on the decisions that affect our connectivity. The decisions on how we connect to the rest of the world should not be taken in Rome, in Milan, or in Abu Dhabi. This is why we favor a model that retains national control over our national airline. The big elephant in the room, of course, and this has come clearly from the negative trend in the survey, is corruption. Earlier this year, Transparency International made an unprecedented statement when it called on the government to clean up its corruption mess. Now, you know as well as I do that corruption is not pro-business, that conflict of interest of people in high public office undermines the level playing field that entrepreneurs, that investors expect and need, and that, well, the Panama Papers scandals may well have been swept under the carpet, but it is still there. And this possibly explains why the survey has shown a decline of a staggering 15% in the stability of our political, stability and transparency of our political, legal and regulatory environment. All this creates a reputational risk today that can damage our future tomorrow. It makes, of course, our negotiating position on crucial issues for our country, such as the ongoing efforts towards tax harmonization that we are rightly resisting, it makes our efforts even more difficult and our negotiating position weaker. It complicates also our life at a crucial juncture where we are about to take on the presidency of the European Union. So my strong appeal to the Prime Minister who's going to speak after me is to sort this thing out before our country takes on the presidency. And finally, the opposition is coming out with its own contribution to ensure that we too give our share towards ensuring that the future is today. I'm proud to announce that later on today we will be launching a document which is the second pre-budget document ever published by the opposition in our country. It will be a document that will be launched by my colleague Mario Tamarco this afternoon, packed with as many as 91 new proposals that we are offering to be taken into consideration for the purposes of the upcoming budget. And it will present these proposals under the headings of economic development, public spending, social justice, the environment and infrastructure, and health and education. We believe that there are ways in which we can truly turn our economy into an economy for all the people and into one where we can all succeed together. Thank you so much for your attention.